Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jeff's Unknown. Oh, yeah. If I sound like Barry White, it's because I got a little throat infection. And as you can see, I got a beautiful cold sore. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it's the only thing I see. When I look at myself in the camera there, it's all I see is ching. So please don't stare too long, okay? It has a mind of its own. Hey, welcome. I My name is Jeff. Yeah, you're in Jeff's Unknown. This is Paranormal Talk. I know that, I this right now the page is growing and I'm very, very satisfied of the direction it's going. I've had awesome guests, man. I had Jared. Was this Fireball Jeff? No. But I was thinking maybe I'm gonna take a shot of it because I'm telling you, I have a sore throat. Like you could tell, like I'm very white, So I had a good guests on. I'm starting to send out invites to see whoever would like to come. Talk. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty good. Like my page here. Look, I know there's a lot of pages out there that go off and they make presentations. They take paranormal and stuff, mostly stuff that we already know. And they make a little collage and special effects and diddle-doo, diddle-doo, diddle-doo. Everybody knows that Wayne World's diddle-doo, diddle-doo. And it's it's catchy. It's catchy. It's really it's nice. It's yeah. But here, no. Here, it's talk. It's live. It's one-on-one with my guest, talking to you and my guest, and really listening to your your chat, your comments and stuff like that, and really get into the aspects of the paranormal and talk about it. I know a lot of people don't. Today people have like an attention span of a gnat. I remember that's why I do a lot of shorts, because apparently I didn't even notice myself doing that too. I don't even look at that. I just go short. And, so I make shorts to see if, to convince people to come to the dark side. But, I don't know. I like talking, man. I just like the fact that, you could see the expression, it's not all fabricated. And I know just a lot of people like, the whole presentation and everything, so whatever. Hey, new Mick, I liked your little comment. I just did a live just before, and I was talking about the flat Earth. Oh God, yeah, but on the French side, on all the matrice, and my point of view on flat Earth. My one guy follows me. His name's New Mick there. And he's like, "Oh, you made your coming out." Yeah, I made my coming out. I had to tell people I came out of the closet that I'm not a flat earther. I respect the fact that people are flat earthers. I do respect the fact that people have that, that perspective. And listen, I did 2 lives in French that were a success. There were thousands of people watched it. And I couldn't get over. I'm like, wow, people really believe in this flat earth stuff. Like, holy crap, and so I interviewed them. I brought them on my page, and a lot of people refused, and a lot of bloggers did not, or YouTubers, whatever. They didn't want them on their page. And I said, okay, is it stupid? Right. Listen, it's something that's interesting. It's something that people, they believe in, and what's up? And, I had a good 2 lives. I learned a lot. It's very compelling. They're, the facts that they bring are pretty interesting. But it doesn't make me a believer. I'm just not. I'm not. I don't believe in that aspect. I don't. There's just too many variables that just contradict it. And I'm not. And I was talking about, because I was getting a lot of holy crap. I was getting a lot of lashes, man. People were throwing stones, man. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I said to myself, if you're going to want people to be on your side, don't act violently. Don't act aggressively. Don't criticize and shit on the hand that feeds you, right? So, and I did it because I wanted people to understand. Listen, you have a perspective, and voila, that's your prerogative. And you know what? Hey, I respect it, but I just don't, man. I just don't. It just doesn't. It's not convincing enough for me. So, and just the aspect of living on a disc does not make me feel that I have to. No. I just don't know, man. It's a very dark concept, and it's really hard. It's It's hard to fathom the fact that if we were living on a disc, and why? I mean, why? What? Like there's a lot of things. Like okay, why? Why are we there? Why? So, anyways, that was discussed on one of I talked a bit about that, and I'm going to probably get another few lashings and rocks and thrown because people live in a very polarized world right now. Ideas are meant to be shared and respected. You know what I mean? Like I respect people. I mean, maybe that's my libertarian point of view is that live and let live. Like I was saying, I don't care how you dress. If you have 40 piercings in your nose, if you like wearing pantyhose and a skirt, who gives a shit? Who cares? You know what cares? You know what really cares? I want to know if you're a person who likes to share ideas and is open to possibilities. And that's why I love the unknown, because the unknown opens so much possibilities of exploration. And it brought so many different people together from whatever your side you're on or whatever you identify as. Who gives a shit? I think what we have to do now as a human society, okay, as a species, if we want to evolve, we have to evolve openly and more open-mindedness towards the fact that the universe around us is talking. And there's so many majestic things that we've had in our world that's been there for a long time that we don't get to really question and poke and probe because they're set narratives. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that we can't question archaeology. That just because you're a doctor or a professor for 30 freaking years and you said, hey man, this is it. There's nothing more than that. Well, bullshit. If I find this somewhere where it shouldn't be, I'm going to question it. I'm going to say, well, wait a minute. Maybe what we know may be very limited because that's what I believe in. I believe it's very limited. But if archaeology is there to explore and we find out that humanity is a lot more older, or let's say there was another humanoid species that dominated this planet, that were the dominant species. Maybe we weren't even there. And this species had a whole civilization. And obviously, we all know when civilizations when they obtain a certain maximum potential, well, they always blow each other up. We noticed that. We noticed that in every civilization. Look at the Roman Empire, self-imploded. Every empire self-implodes. I think it's not a human aspect, but I think it's just a natural aspect that, like, if you look in colonies, if you can see two colonies growing independently from each other, to ant colonies, eventually they're going to grow so big that now they're going to compete and they're going to try to fight and try to win the terrain. And I think that's what happened to ancient times, is that, yeah, maybe, who knows? Because there's so much proof. There's so much proof out there that's being discarded and viewed as a taboo. And that's where I saw this documentary called The Forbidden Archaeology, about things that scientific, or let's say archaeologists, have found in stratas that are much older, and find artifacts and find things that shouldn't be there. And how did they get there? And these artifacts look very, very, very unusual. So why aren't we talking about that? Well, we all know in the science field, there's the narratives. I won't explain too much. In the last 6 years, there's been quite a big narrative going around that nobody could question. It was the sacred cow. Could not question a damn thing. Couldn't talk about it. And the minute you did, you were censored. And I don't care if that touches somebody's shoulders, because I'll be honest with you, I could care less. But I think if people are going to say it as fact, let people try to have at least an opposition and at least come up with a consensus that maybe not everything that we're doing or learning is the actual truth. What is truth? That's the fundamental question. What is truth? Is truth in the eye of the beholder? Huh? Is truth written? Is truth witnessed, lived? Is truth sacrifice? Or is truth fact? And all of those aspects are true. But they can be manipulated, and they can be forced, and they can be, So that's why I think that the world we're living in is speaking to us, but we just don't listen. Either we just don't care, maybe because we don't have the capacity right now because we're reinventing. I'm telling you, we're reinverting ourselves. We are how can I say this? De-evolving. Because today you look at people and you take a child, okay? You take a child from school. And I have children, so I sit with them and I talk with them and I say, hey, what did you learn today? Well, I'm curious. I want to know. And I take myself, a child of the 80s. And then I talk to my mother, child of the 60s. And I compare, right? And I try to understand how come today a lot of stuff isn't taught. It's true. You just can't. You just can't understand the fact that yet there are some aspects that children today are more advanced than others in technology and stuff like that. But history, culture, all gone. And that's where I think where a lot of people, a lot of kids today are lacking, are missing out. And that's why books are so important. Because I remember when I was young, in every school there was a library, and in that library had books on paranormal. And man, did I ever go! I was thinking, oh my god, there were books. There were white books. I don't remember what they were called, but these white books, they had everything. It was like ghosts and UFOs and monsters and cryptids and stuff like that. Way before the whole paranormal thing went viral, right? Because I find today there's so many people doing things on paranormal, talking about weird shit. People like that. They like to know. They like to be scared. But are they really talking about it? Are they really going into it? Are they really talking about the experiences? Because people's experiences are the key element. There is well, I could say the godfather of ufology of Quebec, Jean Cazot. When I used to have a show with him, he would constantly say that sightings is what you capture with your photo, with your phone and video. It's not important. What is important is that the person itself in that moment, what did you see? What did you feel? And what did you come out with? Because both you and I could be looking at the same event. We could be looking at the same thing. And you and I will have experiences completely different. Sorry about that. I did a presentation in front of a UFO group in Quebec City. And I was talking about experiences, the human condition in ufology and like in paranormal. So I had a woman come up and sit in front of the conference there, sit on a chair, and I wanted to make people laugh, so I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. So I had one of the replicas of the Roswell UFO, and here am I. She's sitting here, right? That's the microphone, and I'm going around. I'm going do 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 do, and then I got a little alien that you squeeze it, and the head would like flicker, lights. And I went around and she started laughing. She said it was funny. And that was great because I made her feel comfortable. So I said, okay, I don't want to make her scared. And then I stopped and I asked her, I said, okay, now what you just saw was a traditional Close Encounters, right? She goes, yeah. So describe me what you saw and how you felt. So blah, blah, blah. And then I cut her right off. And I didn't say anything else. Okay, so good, perfect. Then there was somebody that was right next to her in the crowd, right? And like where they were sitting. And I said, what did you see? And how did you feel? And her experience, the way she described it, was completely different from the woman sitting there and the woman looking at the experiment that I was doing. And right there, I told people, I go, that's exactly it. Same event, two different people, two different perspectives. One felt a little bit different. The other one felt, well, I felt a little bit odd. I felt a little bit discomfort. Oh, you did? Okay. How come? And the other one says, oh, I found it funny. Or I felt it warming and welcoming. So you see, that's why what John was saying is that it's the experiencer the most important. That's why we need to venture off and talk to these people, not by making little presentations, none of that shit. What we really need to do is get into the mind of the person and tell me how you feel, because you cannot relate anything. I can't tell you. Let's say an example, all right? Let's say an example. You eat the most amazing steak. Okay, for some steak. Imagine like the steak was smoked and then fried, and that's like just juicing, melt off the bub. My manhood there. Want some steak. So imagine you ate the steak and the steak was so juicy. And it just made you feel good. You had a bad day and you ate it. And then you had a nice big cold beer and you drank it. And then you try to describe the feeling that you had. There's no way you will be able to actually 100% make the other person understand what you went through, other than the person going and getting the same steak or from the part of the steak and the same cold beer and drinking it. But that person might say, I'm not a steak guy. Or, yeah, it was good. It was good. The beer, okay. Do you understand? So there you go. And that is what I find what I'm trying to do here is to get people to talk and try to share what they've seen and feel. And that make yourself relate to that, because relating to something then identifies the fact that you have a connection with it. Because if you have a connection with it, you can explore it, and then you can explore it more and develop a conscientious point of view, an assumption of something that you don't know, that could be, that was be, or something be, or any be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like all those aspects. And that's why when I used to sit down in a discussion group, and we would all talk and we would say, shit, yeah, that's pretty good. Wow, I like your story. Something happened to me, but I don't know. And maybe it's not the same thing, but I have this connection of what you just said. And right there, that's what I said. That's what I should do. That's how I think people should share their stories, And so I had two great guests on so far on this page. I had Jared Neal come on. He is an exorcist, and I've been to one of his exorcisms. Sorry, and I was just absolutely blown apart. I never witnessed something like that. I mean, am I a true believer? Well, look, I'm going to be honest with you. There's always room for doubt. Very interesting. There was a lot of energy in that room. There were some things that I didn't like. I mean, obviously you're in a situation where like, what the hell is this? I did feel bad for the person who was going through it. And the fact is that how professional Jared was, and how Jared was so open about the fact of talking about it. And I learned so much from him. I like that. And like I said, it's something that's more evangelical, it's more religious based. It has to go with, the faith. And I like that aspect too, but I'm more of a spiritualist too. So I opened my horizons like crazy. So then I had another guy come on. His name is Dominic, who was part of Investigation 13, who has his own little thing and very knowledgeable about the city of Montreal. And we talked about, oh my God, everything and anything. But then there's this time he came on, he had this doll, and he has these dolls, these voodoo dolls. But there was this one doll in particular that actually turned around and, well, not turn around. Okay, I'm going to repeat myself. he had it, and as he was turning around with it, the eyes seemed to open up. Scary as if. I've never seen something like that before. And I just found it very fascinating that, and you could see on my page that I put it, you know what? I think I'm just going to show it. I put music to give a little like diddle diddle, right? But it's really interesting. And look, there could be a logical explanation. Maybe there isn't a paranormal aspect to it. But I'll tell you one thing, it's pretty paranormal to me and validated by many people. So I say to myself, always leave room for doubt and always leave room for possibility. Yeah, check this out. Let me see what you think. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But this, oh my God. Wait a minute. Whoa. Okay. When you lie that down, does the eyes close by itself?
No.
Okay. I'm not kidding. But her
Actually,
eyes.
see, there's nothing. I can't close her eyes. There is no lids.
After the live, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at this moment. It's 47 and let's say 20. I'm telling you, those eyes were closed, bro, and they opened. I love the music, right? It gives it an awesome background thing to it. It's like, but like music really does scare shit at you sometimes. Sometimes it's not the movie. There are some movies like what is it, Friday the 13th? Or Friday the 13th. Yeah, and like the music, the anticipation, and you're like, you already have like goosebumps and stuff, and so yeah, it's freaky. I know. What I like about Numic is that it was my first paranormal encounter ever. And he says, I still got the chills. And you know what? Yeah, man. So do I. Now, like you look, there's a lot of people that can turn around and debunk it, try to debunk it. And yeah, go ahead, But I know Dominic, and and he did say that the eyes never, it was like there's no lids and everything. So I said to myself, okay, and let's talk about that doll and let's find out. And then I was talking to my mother the other day, and she says, I sense that it was a little girl that died of tuberculosis, and she's in that doll. And I said, yeah, me too. I feel that way too. I feel like she died of a disease, maybe tuberculosis. And yeah, it's a young soul. And Dominic says, yeah, her name is Kimberly Young. And he told me all types of stuff that happened there with that doll. The hands would move up and stuff like that. And the doll is a stuffed doll. So there's no mechanism, and it's an old doll. So he says, Jeff, I promise I'm going to find out the history of that doll. But he says the person that I bought it from, there's no other ways of communicating with that person because the person moved and stuff like that. So, but when he did get that doll, apparently a lot of stuff, the woman was shaking when she had the doll. She was shaking and giving it to him. It's all. And I do believe that there are objects that can get possessed. It seems that their objects are very easy for spirits to possess, and to be able to to transfer from one area to another. Because sometimes people could say, ever since I bought this, I don't know, this chair or this clock or this item, weird shit's been going on around my house, and before there was nothing. And then all of a sudden they go up and throw it out in the garbage. And then all of a sudden there's nothing. So I do believe that there's a huge possibility. And there is, the spirits can travel through objects and possess them. I mean, look at the show. It's funny. Kids play, Chucky, the doll. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's that expensive. I mean, I used to watch that when I was a kid and I was like, damn, that's scary as hell. But for real stuff like that, it's quite paranormal to me, man. It was trippy shit for sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're telling me, man. Numix says, I wouldn't sleep in Dom's house even if they gave me $1 million. you know, there's just some areas that scare the bejesus out of you. And okay. I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me at my mom's house. And my mom's house it's very haunted. It's very haunted. Oh yeah. Ever since I was a kid, And there's one place on this planet I will walk into the pits of hell, open the door, and look at the devil and slap him in the face. I will do that. But there's one place I really don't like going, and it's the crawl space at my mother's place. It's creepy as F. It's creepy, man. And I have a bad feeling when I go down there. I just feel very watched. I feel uncomfortable. And there was a problem with a pipe. Listen to this, okay? There's a problem with the pipe. Down in I had to verify it, but it's a crawl space. I'm a big guy, and this thing, the crawl space is like 3 feet high, okay? And there's rocks and stuff like that. And when my grandfather was alive, he did put like some type of cardboard. So if we ever had to go see that pipe in case, but it's in the middle, all the way at the end of the freaking crawl space. And I'm here, I have a flashlight. That's all I have. And it's dark. It's pretty dark. A lot of cobwebs and spiders. Oh, I hate spiders. So listen to this. I'm not kidding. I'm laughing because so I go up there and I have no choice. And hey Jeff, why don't you go down there and check out the pipe? Yeah, sure, Ma. So hey, the only son, right? Got to do it. So I go down in that freaking crawl space and I'm going around and I'm going up there and I'm getting up to the pipe and it's all the way at the end. And then just above that is the kitchen and the dining room area. It's all the same area. And I'm under there. And my mother and aunt are talking about paranormal shit and I can hear them. And I'm looking around, I'm checking the pipe, and then I don't know if it was my mother or my aunt who turned around and said, imagine if Jeff walks down there and finds a hand sticking out of the ground and, and like something grabs him and stuff like that. And I'm down there. I can't get out of there. If there was something down there, I could probably try to crawl as fast as I can. But imagine you're down there in the darkness with cobwebs and spiders and freaking creepy ass area. You're there checking a pipe and your mother and your aunt are talking about what if you find a hand sticking out of the ground or if there's something that grabs my leg and I'm there and I'm like, shut up! Shut up! I hauled ass out of there, looking back at I'm looking around. I'm like, Jesus, I got out of there and I couldn't get over it. I was like, and then I get up there and I'm like covered. I'm covered with cobwebs and everything. And I looked at him. I go, what were you guys thinking? What do you think? I was down there. Yeah, but we're wondering. Yeah, but don't say it out loud. Imagine if a hand was sticking out or something grabbed you and you're right there. You're like, wow, I could just die right now. So yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, I'll tell you, that was and that was the last and only time I actually went under the ground there. That was the last time, and it'll take me a while to go there. And if I do, don't talk about anything. Oh my God, that was an experience. Oh, but I did remember once, not long ago, actually, I was, because the house is split level, right? And upstairs is the bedrooms and there's the bathroom. And there, right next to the bathroom, there's the door of my old grandparents' house, old grandparents' room. And my sister sleeps there now. The door's closed. Now, I know that houses move, crack. Doors can move open and stuff like that. So I get out of there and I'm looking at the door and I feel a presence. I said, okay, I'm getting out of here. So I'm right on top of the steps, on the top, about to come down. I hear a noise. I turn. I look at the door. And I could literally see the handle. You know when you hear someone touching the handle? Not the door just opening, the handle itself. And it was so funny because my imagination was going, imagine if there was something there, right? And then I walk out, I get to the edge of the top of the stairs, and I'm about to get down, and the door opens. But it doesn't open big. It just opens enough to say that that ain't normal, and there's someone on the other side opening that damn door. I'm a big guy. I jumped 5 stairs. No, I'm serious. My wife, my kids were all in the kitchen. My my mom was there, my sister was there, and all of a sudden you hear a bang. I jumped 5 stairs. I'm a big guy. Jumped 5 stairs, and at the just before I jumped, it was so funny. I'm like, oh hell no! I jump, I fall to the ground, I get up, and I said, "Ma, there's something in that room that just opened the door." And I swear to God, it was paranormal. It wasn't normal. It wasn't just like a creep. No, no, no. This was actually someone touching the door handle and opening the goddamn door. And that, my friends, was enough for me to jump 5 steps down to the abyss. And I'm telling you. So you see experiences, like I'm a very brave man. There's not much that scares me, but shit like that sometimes. And sometimes when I see these paranormal investigators, they have a lot of balls to go in these places. Like they go in when it's dark with flashlights and equipment and stuff like that. And if they're like me, very hypersensitive, and you can sense, you know, and there's something there, and you're actually going into an area where you could be in harm's way, because there are people who do go and do investigations who end up getting hurt for X amount of reasons. And some of these spirits are just not friendly. I mean, they will conflict harm on you. And there was a story about this guy called Gaston who had kids sleeping over because he got divorced, so he had his kids on the weekends and stuff like that, and they were there, and then he heard a noise, and he saw a mass go into the room where the kids were, and he just found that really weird. And he wasn't a believer, and he ran in there, and the mass disappeared, and he took his kids and he brought them into his room. And that's when he noticed another black mass appear from the door, and he confronted it. It told it to go away. And the black mass wanted to get at his kids, and he was preventing it. And that's why I think human will is very strong. I think that the spiritual forces may be in a different realm than us, but we do have a capacity of self-defense. And he stood there. He stood his ground. And this thing attacked him. He was getting scratched. He was getting all these big marks. He was being attacked. But the more he stood there, he says, "You are not coming in. You are not going to touch my children. I rebuke you. Get out." And the whole night he stood there. And it disappeared. And not long after he moved. He didn't. It wasn't his house. It was like a rental, and he moved. And I said, like I, at one point I'm like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Really? He scratched you?" Yeah. And then he goes, "You want to see it?" And then he showed me. And that was at a time where I was just like, like, okay, one ghost story to another. But this guy actually showed me his scratch marks. There was an actual, you could see a scratch mark. And not one of those, love intense moments in a bed there where, no, none of that shit. Real, legit attack from something. And you could see it. You could see the lines where they were healed over a long period of time. So it was a white mark. But yeah, he had about 3 marks on his back, on his side. And yeah, you could tell it. In the white of his eye, he was looking at me and he was like, "Yeah, man, this shit happened." He says, "I was not a believer until then. And I realized that thing wanted to be at my kids, because I'd never seen that before." But he says, when my kids came over, I noticed there was weird things going on in my house. There was weird things. My kids were acting weird. They were scared at night. They said they felt uncomfortable. They didn't want to come over and sleep over and see me. I felt hurt about that. But then he said, "Okay, I realized it," because kids are very receptive. Kids are extremely receptive when it comes to the paranormal. So, and there's parents who are very egoistical, that are very close-minded, who don't believe in this stuff. And like, I saw a monster. Well, okay, maybe you had a bad dream, but no, it was in my room. It was a bad dream, but instead of talking to your kid about it and say, "Okay, what did it look like? What did it do? What did," because my daughter told me that she saw something really quite something in my house, looking at her. And as she tried to wake my wife up, she looked and it disappeared. And ever since then, I've cleansed my house. I protected my children. I'm telling you, I'm making sure, because I don't want anything coming near my children, because these things, whatever they are, they do attach themselves to kids. They are very receptive, and they do give off a certain purity, light, energy, or something that attracts these things. And they just come around them. And some children are very hypersensitive. So maybe that's why. Right. But as a child, you see the world completely different. You see it as very pure and unegoistical. And that's why children sometimes become victims to these things. And then sometimes we think it's all because of, I don't know, because maybe behavioral issues. Oh, maybe it's because, everybody seems to be having something, but maybe they're seeing things. Maybe they're feeling things. Maybe they're living through things that they cannot comprehend. And if they can't find that validation with the parent or parents they're with, who don't understand the realms of maybe other, paranormal, whatever, you consider that as a missed opportunity to maybe better the situation, because not everything is regulated with a pill. Not everything is regulated with therapy, and oh my god, she's on a spectrum of 1 to 45, she's maybe a gray zone. Like, have you noticed that a lot of people are on these spectrums and all this type of stuff? And trust me, I know. Okay, so the thing is that the best thing to do is find out what's going on, because there is residual that happens in an area. And if you're living in a home that you haven't been living there for a long time, there is residual that may be there that do affect people. If magnetic fields from, let's say, hydro wires can affect you mentally and health wise, because I believe that it does, and there's certain things like radon or rayon or whatever comes from the ground that could be affecting your health, well, maybe there is some type of residual there that is from the paranormal realm that does influence or has become a health issue towards you. And that, simple cleansing or finding a way to purify your house to bring that serenity that you need. And there you go. And confronting things too as well. I mean, if in the real world we have people everywhere, we got good people, bad people. In the spirit world is the same thing. You got good spirits, bad spirits. You got spirits who like to joke around and hide things. You got spirits that like to influence you. And if you don't take control, they'll take control. And then you'll find your health diminishing and maybe find yourself in a bad situation. So that's why it's important that you stay open with your children. It's important that you share that and just have an open mind, just listening to what they say. Okay, maybe it's not the boogeyman, but hey, maybe it is something. Maybe it's something that's, that maybe you just need to be a little more assertive and to say next time you see it, tell it to go away. Let's take a stand like Gaston did for his kids. So that's basically it. I think that's pretty good. But I'll tell you though, down in that crawl space, geez, and just you're down there and it's so dark. And all you hear is your mother and your aunt. They're talking about paranormal stuff. And so, imagine if there's a hand and sticking out. Jeff finds a hand or something, grabs his leg. Jesus. I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. This is all the right moments. You got to tell me this, right? But you know what? That's what life is all about. It's all about discovery, fun, blood pressure, and the unknown, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why Jeff's Unknown is here. And that's why we're going to celebrate it together. And celebrate. It's a celebration. It's to find yourself in the way of the world of the unknown, because in the unknown, I think there's a lot of truth and reality versus the world we live in now, which is in full of lies and deceits and deception. The world we live in, ladies and gentlemen, is not a real world. Everything is fabricated to be happy, nice, but in reality, it's just completely a fugazi. It's not real. So as people start accepting the world of the artificial, sometimes they forget about the real world that exists. But in the paranormal, you can't have the artificial because truth is there. And that's why I do venture off into the unknown and find out and try to understand it. Because somewhere there, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is there, but it connects us all. And that's what makes it beautiful, is that connection that we have with the unknown. Because I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, this world is much more amazing than you think. You just need to learn to accept and willing to open your eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, baby. Yes, because we're starting this journey together, and what a ride we're going to have. And just because it's you, I'm going to say you are the big reason why I do this. Because otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just talking to myself. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. I like that transition there, right? Back to the Matrix. We live in the Matrix. Yeah, I'm crazy like that. But you know what? It's fun. Now I'm going to say goodbye for real. Take care, everybody.